Hello, Ben here, hope you're well, and welcome to Benjy's Cafe Podcast. My guest this week is the therapist and host of the chart-topping Sober Rebel podcast, Louisa Evans. At the time of recording, Louisa is 942 days alcohol-free. Wow, an author of Becoming a Sober Rebel. Her Instagram profile, Stepping into Sobriety, is a hotbed of positivity, calm and advice for anyone who has, like me, embarked on the buzz of a life without alcohol. And almost a bottle of a wine a night drinker since her 20s, in October 2022, Louisa decided enough was enough, and now supports people globally in one-to-one therapy sessions, challenging the negative beliefs when wanting to go sober. In this episode, Louisa shares her decision to stop drinking, helping others in their sobriety, and the joy of an alcohol-free life.
Every day you wake up sober, you can kind of go, well, do you know what? No, it doesn't matter what happens today, I've woken up sober. And that is an amazing thing. It's like night and day. When I look back at pictures or videos of me, I know what was going on in my head. And I may have been smiling, holding that glass of wine, but I can see the worry in my eyes. I was like, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing this. But the momentum had gathered, and every single thing just involved alcohol.
Louisa's wonderful and will put a spring in your step to start your day. Welcome to Benjy's Cafe Podcast, Louisa Evans. Good morning, Louisa. How are you?
Wow, what an intro. Good morning. How are you?
I am all groovy. Crikey, you're looking like super effervescent, super sparkling there. Mornings are wonderful, aren't they? Do you find that a good morning just really sets you up for a super duper day ahead?
Yeah, and I think it's probably because I had so many rubbish ones. I was always just running below par all the time. I always coped, but I wasn't glowing. Certainly wasn't glowing.
Those mornings were difficult, my goodness, when I look back. Louisa, just the sluggishness, the greyness, the lethargy. It was almost just fighting to get through that cloud of doom, wasn't it, before you could even think about your day and what you had to tackle. Would you agree with that?
I would, and I don't know whether you experience this, but I also used to have like a 3 a.m. anxiety wake up. Usually because I'd promised myself I wasn't going to drink that night. I'm not going to drink that night. And then I'd have the whole day of this ping pong, like a pinball machine conversation with myself. Well, you could just have one, but it's Thursday. It's nearly the weekend. No, I said I wasn't. And this would go on and on and on. And then I'd finally give in, get that rush of excitement that I was going to be buying my bottle of wine, and then wake up at 3 a.m. And very often I'd be, I'd say to my husband, who would wake up with me, because I'd usually kind of go, and sit upright and poor sod, and he would say, what's the matter? Oh, I've drunk again. It's like, oh, God, this again. Constantly wanting to quit.
Oh, it's awful, isn't it? I would just beat myself up. Likewise, I would say to myself, especially after a heavy weekend, which then became a heavy long weekend, a heavy week, just have a couple of nights off. Then, like you say, maybe get through Monday, give myself the Olympic gold medal of sobriety man, and then by Tuesday I'd be just back on it one or two, and it just be like, oh my goodness, it's that feeling, isn't it? Like, I've done it. Why have I done it again?
I know. And that, don't underestimate how much that damages your self-esteem. And that, starting the day with that kick, really does then impact the rest of your day. Whereas every day you wake up sober, you can kind of go, well, do you know what? No, it doesn't matter what happens today, I've woken up sober. And that is an amazing thing.
The contrast is literally conkers bonkers, isn't it? To my mindset, to my mental health, to everything. There's just this lovely glow now of waking up when you're sober. Just what's today going to bring? And it's joyous as opposed to completely anxiety inducing, isn't it?
It's like night and day, really. I can't quite believe, actually, when I look back at pictures or videos of me, I know what was going on in my head, and I may have been smiling, holding that glass of wine, but I can see the worry in my eyes. I was never I suppose when I was younger, I was probably a drinker that would have drunk and not cared, like you do when you're younger.
Yeah.
Then there's I think when you become a parent and things like that, I was like, I can't keep doing this. But the momentum had gathered, and every single thing just involved alcohol. And that was the thing, every holiday, every mini break, every evening, nearly every evening. If I sulked and took a night off, that would be the only way I'd have a night away from it.
And was there
a gradual build-up, Louisa? Did you kind of know deep down that this was something that was beginning to creep in heavily into your life, to take over? Just seeing from afar, looking at those pictures of you, you know, on the outside, smiling, cheers, bottoms up, 1 o'clock, to the reality. Was that a slow process, getting to the point in, you know, October 2022, just like, you know what, this has got to stop now?
I think it was, actually, and I can't believe how slow. And actually, I think that is the thing. I say I didn't hit a rock bottom. The phrase I use, it was like death by 1,000 cuts. It was just constant. And I think one of the things for me was that final summer. It was summer 22. We'd got a motorhome the year before. And a lot of people, you know, they love the idea of a motorhome. We loved the idea of a motorhome. We were going to go away and I was determined if we were going to invest in this motorhome, we were going to use it. So we booked all of these holidays, these mini breaks, the Brecon Beacons, going to the seaside. We were going to do all these different things. And of course, every single break involved drinking, but it was slightly different drinking when you were away doing that sort of thing. It was drinking from the moment you set up and then looking forward to like Sunday lunch and then driving home. I wasn't driving, I was drinking. That was always the handy thing. I never drove it. But then all of the breaks became about drinking. And that summer, it was one thing after another. And I remember one weekend in April, we were only staying just down the road from where we lived. And I was really poorly. I kept getting stomach pains. I had IBS. I had my rosacea. My skin was terrible. I had this ache in my kidneys, I now realise. And it was like, you know, when you can't get your back comfy. It's like, I'm like, I feel a bit, there's something wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
And I just kind of knew. And we got there and I was feeling quite poorly. So we poured this glass of wine and I thought, I don't want it. And I pulled it away. That was unheard of. And then the next day we woke up and it was raining and we went to like the clubhouse. There was nowhere else to go. So we were trying to entertain the kids. And I've got a picture of me holding my youngest and I've got this pint in front of me. And I remember thinking, I don't want that, but I still drank it. And then another. And steadily over the afternoon because there was nothing else to do. And that was the thing. I was a boredom drinker.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do in the evening. I've got a very, very busy brain, high energy. And actually, I just didn't know how to shut that off effectively. I actually thought there was something wrong with me because I was just always on the go. And since then, a little bit of an aside, but I have been diagnosed since going sober with ADHD, actually ADHD, so a mix of autism and ADHD. And I'm always very aware when I talk about things like this. I know some people really struggle, and I have really struggled over the years with it. I had an eating disorder. I would try and control things around me. I had OCD checking locks. I nearly didn't leave the house one birthday because I was so, in my 20s, I was so sure that something terrible was going to happen. I'd get these intrusive thoughts. And when I was younger, I used to think that I don't know, there was something wrong with me or that I was broken. Why didn't anybody else think like this? And I found drinking wine shut it off just temporarily. You know, I could calm down. And that was a big thing, realising once I went sober and then got diagnosed, that was when it was like, oh, that's what I was doing. I was self-medicating.
That must have been a really nice moment, I imagine, when you had that explanation as to why maybe, you know, you did turn to alcohol during tough periods. Was that almost a relief for you? And how great that choosing sobriety led to this information that must have freed you up, I imagine. Explains a lot, certainly.
Yeah, it was unbelievably freeing. I didn't do it for a label. I didn't do it to be medicated. I did it out of curiosity. Somebody else had spoken to me about it. And it was the most freeing thing because then what happened, I sort of realised when you've got autism and ADHD, they kind of contradict each other. It was almost like I could see the different parts of my brain and my personality there going, my ADHD wants to go do this thing and is bored, and my autism wants steadiness, predictability. And it was like I was a constant contradiction. So I wanted to get drunk, but I didn't want to drink too much. I didn't like feeling drunk. So this was where this feeling of contradiction constantly in my brain came about. But it is actually quite for people that have got neurodivergence, particularly ADHD with that high energy or overthinking, to then figure out the alcohol calms that down a bit. But what it does do is it takes you to quite a dark place. You know, if you've got overthinking, it isn't always shutting that off. What it can do is it can take you to quite a maudlin down place.
Can just completely ruminate, can't you, and overthink, and fueling that with booze. And you mentioned there that feeling of sat there having that pint that you didn't want and another pint. And I've been in that predicament as well, where it's like, I don't need this. This is just not good for me. And it's a really scary place, isn't it? I remember just feeling scared that I need to have this just to make myself feel some kind of good during really tough periods. It's awful, really, how it just slowly closes in on you, and just it is like this grip.
It's when you're doing something that you don't want to be doing. So you've got different styles of drinking. You've got the devil may care, I don't care, alcohol's fine, my head's in the sand kind of drinking, which I did for a long time. And then you start to get an awareness that actually my ideal self doesn't drink or drinks a lot less. And then the minute you've got that goal and you're still doing the thing you don't want to be doing, that's where the discomfort is. And that's where, when I share things on Instagram, the crying videos aren't usually from the heavy drinking periods. They're from when I was desperately trying to stop and realizing I'm struggling here, and that's scary.
How scary was it for you? Did you just throw yourself into it? How did you build on that decision to stop? Was it step by step, or I've got to do this? And how daunting was that? And just how quickly after making the decision did you feel like things are beginning to feel a little bit easier for me, life is more manageable?
I think even the decision to stop and those first couple of months were difficult. I think that was probably between the October and the December. I call it my resetting loop. I was kind of in this awful, maybe getting 10 days, 15 days, 21 days. And then I've got this lick now. I'm fine. I can drink now. It's coming up to Christmas. Maybe I'll do this after Christmas. And it's that, I mean, a lot of people call her the wine witch, the voice in your head. But it's kind of the part of your brain that wants the dopamine. It wants dopamine. It knows alcohol is the quickest, fastest source of dopamine. And if you are neurodivergent, you are lower in dopamine. So you are more likely to then turn to addictive behaviors like online shopping or drinking alcohol or anything that gives you dopamine in a quick rush way.
And how did you get through that period initially, when usually you would crack open a bottle of nice Savvy B or a little, Mike Merlot, something like that? I usually be Ben's Bar for me, 6 o'clock, crack open a Foster's. How did you initially get through that period? And the support of your family must have played a pretty big role in just helping you through, even to this day.
I mean, if I hadn't have had Dale's support, and my mum's support, we had a really honest conversation at the Christmas time with my mum. My mum's very pragmatic. And I said, or Dale rather said, we're looking to give up alcohol. We're now going to do it on January the 1st. Louisa's really struggling. We both need to do it. I mean, he'd identified he wanted to as well. And although it was me driving it, he was very much like, I'll do it with you, but I'm not doing it forever. He kept saying, I would do it for a time and then I'm going to go back to it. But the more he didn't drink, the better he felt. And of course, the better he felt, it was like, well, why would I go back? And he says now, why would I go back? But he had a conversation with my mum that Christmas, which was also, I think, quite important, to be open with the people around you. Up until that point, I'd kept it a bit of a secret and I hadn't shared my Instagram, and I was kind of really separating everything out. And there was a point where I realized if I keep doing this, I'm giving myself a trapdoor to drinking. I'm sort of giving myself a get out of jail free card here. So I did want to own it. I did want to put my face on the Instagram account, which I was doing to keep me accountable, basically. But to answer your question about how did I get through that 5 o'clock witching hour, it's hard, right? And I think the biggest thing to say is it gets easier, which you'll agree. It gets easier.
Yeah.
The more you rewire the neural pathways and change those habits, the easier it gets. But actually, the biggest thing I did was I changed my routine. So a lot of it for me was, I know you say you've got Ben's Bar, but the biggest thing was the kitchen was my bar, and I would stand in the kitchen cooking food, and it was my excuse to just steadily drink. So I stopped cooking. I realised I don't enjoy cooking.
Yeah, you're like, right, I'm
drinking.
done.
Not doing this anymore. So in all seriousness, though, I changed the way I cooked. So I would do slow cooking, or we'd have a quick meal. I wouldn't spend hours. Do you know what? Who knew that food didn't need to be watched when you're cooking it with a glass of wine in your hand? Because that was what I was doing.
Well, every Sunday, similarly, I'd turn into Keith Floyd in the kitchen. I'd have my 3 or 4 pints down the pub, pretending to be, I've got life sorted. I'm just, I'm taking the culture section down of the Times, and really I'd just cane 4 pints and have 4 Marlboro Lights, come home feeling tipsy and, oh God, here we go. And then you open a bottle of wine, cooking away, thinking I was, the Midlands-based Stanley Tucci. I think Stanley meets Benjamin. But and then just here we go, just being sloshed. But also, I've always loved food. I'm a big old pig, but just on a pure, simple term of enjoying the flavours more, enjoying eating more. And it's not just going out for meals or social events. I'm getting so much more from life. The contrasts are just crazy, aren't they?
In sobriety, I mean, there's no denying those early days, the first time you go out. Dale's birthday was a fortnight after we actually quit for good. And that was interesting. We went for a cream tea. We went for like a high tea. And there were other people on other tables with little glasses of Prosecco.
Yeah.
And I was just fixed on, I didn't want to see it. I was like, I'm not sure are we really doing this? And so it does feel like that. Whereas now I look at somebody drinking and it doesn't make me feel envious. In fact, it actually makes me feel, I wish you could see what not drinking is like. I never ever say it. I never say that.
Yeah.
But I sort of feel a bit sorry. If somebody's a take it or leave it drinker, I feel a bit sorry for them, because it's like you could easily stop and just experience life without alcohol, and it's magical because it is impacting your neurochemistry. Even on a sort of a lower level, it will be impacting it.
If they could just see that they could garner so much more from life, from the simple things, which are so important, which in sobriety, in an alcohol-free existence, are just joyous.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the one thing that I noticed, and this weekend was a really good example of that, we live in a beautiful part of the world. And you never ever visit anything on your doorstep. And we woke up and there was nothing on. I mean, when does that happen in this house? There was nothing on. And it was like, right, what are we going to do? And I said, why don't we go down the road to this kind of landmark? Why don't we go there and walk the dog and maybe have some lunch or something, maybe a coffee and a cake? And then I was getting ready and I was feeling excited. Now, I used to have plans to be that mum, right? I used to see pictures of people on Instagram going, I want to be like them. And I never achieved it because I was and it wasn't always because of hangovers or anything like that, because had such a tolerance and I was drinking under such control. I very rarely was hungover. I misjudged it on occasion. I wasn't perfect, but I was very rarely hungover. I was just under par constantly. But with alcohol, because of the way it messes about with your neurochemistry and your dopamine, what happens is your brain kind of lowers the point at which you feel joy, your hedonic set point, the point at which you feel excitement or happiness. And so alcohol is the fast route and the only route at some points to that feeling. So that party, that meal out, you get excited about the drink, actually, rather than getting excited about the company. And that's sad. But it lasts outside of when you're drinking it. So what was happening was that I just wasn't getting excited. I had all these plans to do things, but no enthusiasm for them. And then at the weekend, I realised, I don't know when it's massively shifted now. I am like counting down to our holiday. I can't wait to try a cold water dip in the sea. I've always said I'm going to try it at some point. It's something I'm actually quite scared of. So I'm really pushing myself out of my comfort zone. But yeah, I think it's that lowering of that hedonic set point that I think a lot of people don't really take into equation. When you first go sober, of course, you're removing the drug and you're going to feel flat. So you're going to feel a bit bored and you have to ride it out. And that then does reset over time.
I'm so excited for your holiday for you. It's just wonderful. But how great, and I admire your bravery. You're going to be trying open water, cold swimming. My goodness. Oof,
I didn't say swimming, Ben. I didn't say I was going out into the ocean.
Just in and out. Just in and out.
Sunk under, quick. For the gram.
Yeah.
And then literally, look, I've done it.
Yeah. The dunk for the gram and then out you go. Well, hey, even that deserves huge kudos, my goodness. But what I really love and admire that especially in your role as a therapist, I imagine you're helping people then when you were drinking. Was that like a juxtaposition, and you're helping people, and then you're opening a bottle to kind of calm and plateau your feelings? But also what I really admire is, and it really helps me, your content, on your Stepping Into Sobriety page, just having the courage to get that stuff out there. I love how that helped you initially massively, kind of diarise your route into alcohol free, but also you really helped me. You must be helping thousands of others, like literally every day with your content. That must be so rewarding for you. And I hope you realise that you must be helping so many people.
It's so weird sort of being on the other side of it and kind of thinking of it like that. I know when I started to get quite a few more followers, I started to panic. And it was like, well, oh my goodness, what do they want to see? And, I don't know. I was quite comfortable when it was smaller numbers and who's looking at me? And then some people will say to me, even locally, I know you, I follow you on Instagram. And it's like, okay. And like my head then flashes through to all of the videos I've shared and the crying videos and I think to answer your question about being a therapist, I would say that was one of the biggest motivators. And the reason I got into being a therapist was because I was struggling with my mental health in my 20s. I had, as I say, an eating disorder. I had overthinking, OCD. It was all undiagnosed, but I was really massively struggling. And I'd gone to people for help and it hadn't helped because I needed to understand. And that's why when I work with people, I teach them what's actually going on. Because I found if somebody just said to me, what you need to do is take some deep breaths, I'd go, yeah, whatever. Yeah. And I just wouldn't believe it. Whereas if somebody said to me, okay, you've got this autonomic nervous system in your body, it's got two sides to it, and explained what was going on. And when you breathe, that's the one part of it that you can control. And it's a signal to go into your parasympathetic side, your calmer side. And that's like a muscle that you can then exercise. It just all started to make sense. And for me, I needed the logic. And I know a lot of my clients appreciate the logic. Why am I thinking about alcohol at this point? What is going on here? What's the psychology behind that? Because it seems so overpowering. It seems like such a big thing to walk away from. But yeah, it was one day in clinic because I predominantly helped with fears, phobias, and anxiety. I helped with sleep issues as well, but those were the main things. And then somebody came into clinic and they wanted some help with stress management and anger management. And I use hypnosis and things with that. And they said, and I need to deal with my drinking. And I remember gulping, thinking, okay, right, this is going to be interesting. Because it was always on my mind when I studied and learned all of these things and started to solve my own life and started to work out why my brain was acting the way that it was and how to calm it. I realized that alcohol was the elephant in the room for me. And I knew it was a problem. And sitting there with this woman saying, I want to talk about my drinking because I don't feel like I'm the same person when I'm drinking and I've got to slow down or stop. I felt so not hypocritical, but inauthentic because I was giving her sound advice, really sound advice and some tools that would really work. But I was going home and pouring a glass of wine that night because, like you say, I was teaching other people proper relaxation tools and how to manage anxiety by understanding what's going on. And that had worked for me, but I was still pouring alcohol. And so that was causing a 3 a.m. anxiety. There was a hypocrisy there. And eventually I just couldn't, it just all culminated this summer of excess drinking in the motorhome and my stomach hurting and pains in my back and my skin flaring up unbelievably. My body was screaming out to me that I needed to cut back.
Isn't it interesting, the elephant in the room? Like I'd known for, probably years, if I'm being really honest, years, and then increasingly so the last 2 or 3 years before I did stop. The catalyst was my hair transplant. I had to stop drinking for 4 weeks, and it was my fiancée Rita who said, you won't drink again. And I was like, what? And it was just something that I was so scared to approach. But when I realised that this elephant in the room was not just in the room, it was in my whole soul and mind and body and heart, that I had to do something about it. And I think we should be so proud of ourselves for addressing that, because it's not easy, and just the joy from when you make that decision, it's unreal. And so huge kudos to you for making that decision, for addressing that elephant in the room, and then going on to help so many people. It's fantastic. Yeah. And with the launch of your Sober Rebel podcast, Louisa, is that lovely as well? A constant like weekly reminder for you that alcohol-free existence is helping so many people. It must be lovely to listen to people's stories, week after week, and just confirm what you know from your route almost.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, none of it really was ever planned. I think I was diagnosed neurodivergent at about 18 months sober, but at 6 months sobriety, I was like, right, I've kind of got this now. I know I'm not going to drink, but I need to stay focused. And that was the point that I wrote my book, Becoming a Sober Rebel, because I wanted to document purely selfishly what it was like so that I know I didn't forget. And I included some CBT and tools in there as well. And it was at that point I'd finished the book, I'd recorded the audiobook, and I'm like, right, what now? What can I do now? I always had to have a project. And this is something else that I love about sobriety, is that I feel like I've got permission to be me. And I've always, I suppose as a child, I was the one that wouldn't really do what she was told. I wasn't naughty, but I was always a little bit like, I will do what I want to do when I want to do it. Don't tell me. If you tell me, I'll do the opposite. And I was a delight to teach, but I was always I just needed to be entertained. And the biggest thing for me was to realize that was my responsibility. I didn't need to drug myself with alcohol to cope with that need for stimulation. And I'm curious. I love learning. And so I decided that, right, I'll start a podcast. And that, like you say, every time I interview somebody, I ask them for the 3 benefits that they've experienced in sobriety. And yes, there's some ones that come up quite regularly, but there's some really different stories behind it. And I love it because it's reaffirming to me, this is why you're doing this. It's an amazing life choice, because you have to do 2 things, wouldn't you agree, in sobriety? You've got to knock alcohol off its pedestal, and you've got to put sobriety on one, because that's the thing that will keep you sober and keep you happy about it.
And I imagine as well, it's such a good focus for you, filling that void of when we would be cracking open a glass of wine or a beer. And, for me, this podcast, it's a great weekly focus for me. But not only that, which helps me mentally and puts me in a great mood whenever I speak to anybody, but it's just a good weekly focus for me. And likewise, just chatting to fantastic people each week. It's lovely, isn't it? Just having that connection, from me seeing your content online, we've had a chat and it's just so lovely. Whereas before, I think I would have been a bit too lazy almost to reach out to people. It's amazing when you do reach out, have that connection, what you can get back.
Yeah, it's almost that fear of rejection as well, isn't it? But that's what I love about the sober Instagram community, in that it's so open, so welcoming. And it's about being able to make connections with people and then support each other. Because that's what it's about. No man is an island.
And what I love as well, of course, there's the huge mental positives of saying cheerio to the booze, but aesthetically as well, it's unreal, isn't it? Your skin and your eyes, everything just goes like ping. It's so wonderful.
I mean, you've seen my before and afters. I was in a really very strange place before I went sober, in that, I mean, we'd just sort of gone through the pandemic. I hadn't drunk through the pandemic because of the fact I was pregnant with my youngest. So that was literally a lifesaver. But the minute I had her, it was almost like it crept back in gradually. And with that, being in my 40s, having a baby, it was different again. I was like, who am I? I remember losing my identity when I had my daughter in my 30s, my eldest. But doing it in your 40s then, it was a different level. It was like, I just lost myself. I didn't know who I was. I was just mum again, and I didn't feel like me. And then alcohol onto that as well. I started to get bloated. I was gaining weight. I was trying to go to the gym. And it's not all about weight at all. But let's face it, it's not healthy to be a weight that doesn't suit you. And I think everybody's different. But for me, I was the heaviest I'd ever been. And I was just feeling really, really down, really low. My skin was so, my rosacea on my cheeks was so flared up. It was angry looking. I couldn't cover it up with enough makeup. I just felt I felt old, which you shouldn't feel at 44 or 40. You know, you shouldn't.
Well, I look at my before picture, honestly, I literally bore myself with looking at my before and after pics. But I look so grey and sluggish. I look like the Grim Reaper gone wrong, honestly. And again, that's like another lovely thing, isn't it? And also a good little confidence boost when, through making this decision to go alcohol-free, peers, friends, family, strangers do give you a nice little compliment like, my God, you're looking good. And I want to say, yeah, it's because I don't drink anymore.
I do say it. My favourite is going into clothes shops and things. And usually my husband's with me and I'm trying clothes on and he'll tell the sales assistant, yeah, she's lost loads of weight recently. And she's like really into her fitness. And she, you know, because that's the other thing. I used to go to the gym for aesthetic reasons, right? I used to go to the gym to try and keep looking a certain way. Rightly or wrongly, it was totally the wrong motivation. Whereas now I work out and I move my body every day in some way. So it's not rigid. It's not in a building. I don't go to a gym. I'll walk the dog. I'll get on my little treadmill and do that. Edit podcasts while I'm doing that. I've got weights in the kitchen. I'm always just like, right, I'm just going to move my muscles because now my focus has very much gone from being aesthetically driven in my 20s and 30s. Now it's all about health. It's all I'm interested in is how I feel. I feel good. I want to feel better. Bone health, which is really important as we age. So I'm looking at ways of strengthening. And that's not who I was.
It's so good. And literally, and it doesn't have to be much a day, does it? I'm real old school. I make a little daily list. I love it. Tick it off in my little biro as I go through the day. And what I love, first thing is always exercise, just a little tick, just something, you know, a little 10 minutes on the cross trainer. I love an hour's walk with the dog, and it's just lovely. It's time for you to reboot as well, isn't it? And also, like you say, you're doing some really good for your body, and the importance of health and how healthier I feel from not drinking is the contrast is unbelievable. And, you know, I was 50 a few weeks ago, and it's lovely to think I'm not only mentally improving my life, but physically I'm doing all that I can now to have a longer life, especially because I'm loving it so much now. Now I'm alcohol free. So I think it's great that, you know, you're doing so much movement, so much exercise. I think, does that have a knock-on effect in your family as well? Do you find that, you know, it's a healthier household full stop, interestingly?
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking back, actually, my eldest used to have a little sherry glass. There was a sherry glass in the cupboard. And if ever we had a celebration or Christmas, she would have a bit of fizzy water in her sherry glass to toast as we were drinking. I'm not judging any parents or anything, but that now looking back on it, I feel uncomfortable about that because I was teaching her subconsciously that mummy needs wine, that I can't deal with like the stresses of raising them without drinking. That wasn't a good message. I wasn't actually saying that, but that's a subliminal message that was going across. And with my youngest, she can't remember us drinking. So she's so young that she can't. She's 4 now. And she copies me. She wants little baby weights, like the toy ones. I need to get hold of some because she wants to do the yoga or the Pilates or she wants to pretend when I'm on the running machine, she's like stood by the side of me pretending she's like running with me. And I always think to myself, that's so different because my eldest is very sensible. My youngest is beautifully more like me in the sense that she's probably not going to do what you ask her to do. She's going to do what she wants to do. And I didn't really want to have those conversations. She's going to, they'll both encounter alcohol at some point. They're bound to, and they will do what they need to do or what they want to do. But what I'm modeling is a better coping mechanism. If I'm stressed, I go for a walk. If I'm upset, I talk to somebody. I journal. I will listen to a hypnotherapy or a meditation to calm down. I'm not pouring a glass of wine and saying, right, what we do is we drink our problems away.
And now at the end of a long, busy day, you've been with your clients all day and you've done your walk with the dog, you've done your exercise. What just really makes you happy? What's your little happy place where you're sitting just content and just think, oh, today's been good and tomorrow's going to be another good day?
I think it's probably after we've had something to eat and we sat on the sofa. Dale will make a cup of tea. I always have a whisper. Chocolate whisper. Can't beat it. Going back to the 80s.
I love my choppy. My goodness.
Watching something on Netflix. And okay, admittedly, I'm usually writing a Substack article at the same time or editing a podcast with one. I know full well that I'm not somebody that can just focus on one thing. And I think that's why I used to drink while I watched a program, thinking it was helping me focus. But now I just embrace who I am. And I can multitask, and I very often do. And then I'll read a book, getting into bed at night, reading a book, and then falling asleep naturally. That's a high. Massive high.
Isn't it great when you do get into bed knowing that you're going to have a really good sleep and wake up fresh? That never gets old, does it?
Never, never. I mean, I had all the stats of my Apple Watch, and it was like I would compare my drinking sleep to my sober sleep. And although I was technically in bed the same amount of time, technically asleep 8 hours, the same amount of time, it was the quality of the sleep. So the amount of deep sleep, the amount of REM sleep has doubled. So you're getting a better quality sleep. So I love a stat. I mean, that's why I'm studying psychology. You know, it's like I love statistics, science, anything data driven. I always think it just helps you understand it, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I was gutted last night. Likewise, I've got a Fitbit, and I was recharging it. I was like, "Oh no, it's dead." I was just nodding off. I was like, "Oh bugger," because my morning thing is we'll have the morning coffee club, then we'll have the Fitbit sleep check. Like honestly, we're such nerds, but we love it. So of course, this morning I was like, "Oh no!" I woke up with no watch on my wrist. I was like, "No,
I don't know.
my goodness!"
Oh, I don't feel like I've slept now.
Yeah, I know. So I've had to kind of garner roughly from Rita's sleep how much I've had, but I'm feeling good. I'm feeling fresh, and I feel even better after this chat. My goodness, today, Louisa, 942 days alcohol free. You must feel so proud of yourself.
I really do. Do you know what? I think us Brits aren't great at doing the self-congratulatory kind of stuff, blowing your own trumpet. But I am really proud, because where I was 3 years ago, it was really painful. It was physically, emotionally, mentally draining. And you can think you've got a handle on it. You can think that, you're coping, but it's not until you walk away from that thing. And that's not an easy thing to do. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done. But I always say that it gets easier. It doesn't last like that. There's no way all of us would be here at like 2.5 years, 3 years sober going, it's brilliant, keep going. We wouldn't be doing it.
Louisa, it's been so lovely to chat to you this morning. Oh, if there's room in your suitcase, I'm going to come on holiday with you.
It's a motorhome, so there's plenty of room. But I do like to go for a run in the morning, and I have got my Pilates classes that I'll be streaming online. And that's the other thing, is that I do that when I go on holiday, I will still move. I used to see a holiday as like, right, now I can be a slug by the pool and not do anything. And then you come back and it's like, oh, I feel so, And actually I go away and it's like, brilliant. There's no timetable, but I can now go and move and get in the sea with the kids, get in the pool with the kids, and I'm just more active. I think I'm nicer to be around.
Do download Sober Rebel podcast. It's fantastic. And it's just been so lovely to connect today. Thank you so much for being a wonderful guest and for joining me on Benjy's Cafe podcast.
Oh, thank you so much, Ben. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thanks for listening to Benjy's Cafe podcast. Isn't Louisa great? Her Sober Rebel podcast available too wherever you get your pods. Give it a go. Benjy's Cafe offers summer breather now, cricket calling, and a small matter of my wedding. Woohoo! I'll be back married and smiling like a Cheshire cat on October the 14th. Can't wait to see you then. Oh, and you can still vote for Benjy's Cafe for Listener's Choice at the British Podcast Awards. Just visit britishpodcastawards.com/voting. Thank you so much. Be happy, be kind, get out for a walk and say hello to a stranger. I'll see you all in October. Have a great day.